Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take on what your comics have become. uh, you know, I haven't dipped my toe in the water of comics in a while, but I was reminded of it because I did a whole passage in my new book, Hollywoke, another novel, the sequel to Wokistan, in which there is a comic book company not unlike Marvel Comics that has gone completely woke. And this is the woke Marvel Comics coming out. And what I mean by woke is what do you get when you take a comic book company aimed primarily at a male audience and over, give the reins over to a bunch of women who kind of hate comics and are super feminist? Well, you get sort of a mixture of left wing politics, feminism, and comic books. So everything that made the comic cool to its male audience gets completely eviscerated. So this is one of their offerings, the immortal She-Hulk, which who for some reason has massive veins in her body that just look so completely unnatural and weird, um, that she doesn't even look female in this picture. This looks like the Hulk with a wig and boobs. And Jennifer Walters was, especially if you look at her in the John Byrne years, she was just really big, strong, and sexy as hell. And that was part of the deal. She was a female Hulk. This looks like kind of might be a female Hulk, but we can't be sure. And you could see they've got Rest in Power Chadwick Boseman. Look, it was tragic what happened to Chadwick. It's very sad. But Rest in Power, that's a weird, like, Antifa slogan. You people are dabbling in stuff you should not be dabbling in, thinking that, oh, this will be cool. The kids will like this. This will be cool. Uh, I guess. I mean, if you think communism is cool. And the only thing I could say about this particular issue of the comic, it has a scene where Jennifer kind of hits on Thor, but I guess she's like stupid Hulk, uh, She Hulk, because it's like Thor want trade with Hulk, and then like you've got a sexy Thor. Why not? So I mean, this is a comic. I think it feels very much very female. Now I don't think the writer and artists aren't female, but I'm pretty sure the editors are, and they kind of set the pace in a comic book company. But if you don't believe that is being run by girls, well, what about this? What do you think when you think of Deadpool? I know I think of about cooking. Yes, because that's just what I want from my superhero comics. I want recipes from a fictional character who kills people, by the way. Deadpool, not really a good guy. Not really a good guy. No, he's not. He kills people. He's a mercenary, and he murders people. Now, you could say that, well, he's not like an assassin. Kind of. Not an assassin, I guess, but he does kill an awful lot of people. He's not a policeman. He's not a soldier. I guess he had some soldier training, but he is just a guy with a lot of guns and weapons, and he kills a lot of people. Now, the comic book, of course, became very silly because he became very, very popular for a while, and that was part of the charm. But he wasn't. I mean, he talked about food. He had a whole thing about tacos and chimichangas, but he's not actually a cook. He doesn't actually exist. So, this is just a bunch of recipes marketed under his image. It's just, it's everything but what you actually want in a comic book character. Cooking is not one of those things. Ladies, what we'd like to see is the characters doing what the characters normally do. And in the case of Wade Wilson, is it Wade Wilson or Wade Williams? No, it's Wade Wilson. In the case of Wade Wilson, we want to see him make really crude jokes and shoot people and get torn to pieces because he can regenerate and all kinds of stuff. Instead you get this. This is what you're doing over at Marvel Comics. I think it's partly because, the comic industry is pretty dead. I mean, at this point, it's pretty dead. So if you could put out something like this, it's higher end. You could put a bigger price point on it. So you could charge more money if it becomes collectible, and then you sell 2 of them, hopefully, or 3 of them, because somebody wants to, I got to buy an extra copy and put it away and never open it. But, at this point, who is scrambling to get every Deadpool thing? The movies are done. I mean, you might get a third one. You might get, what is it, Strike Force? Is the team? Or X-Force? Yeah, X-Force. You might get X-Force. You might get an X-Force movie. But then again, the cancel culture sort of hates Deadpool and that type of humor, doesn't it? And kind of these types of people who are currently running Marvel Comics, they hate that kind of stuff too. So they've relegated, in my view, Wade Wilson to this. Because, he could say kind of snarky things, but he can't be too offensive because, it's just cooking. It's just food. And, they get to make money off of him without him actually doing the thing we want him to do. Right? So it's like when they made these James Bond movies and they deconstructed James Bond so he didn't do all the James Bond things. And don't get me started on Quantum of Solace, because it'll be a 2-hour video. And I get very upset. And Sean Connery's dead, and it's very upsetting to me. But on the case of comics, which is another thing I used to love that they've ruined, it's just ridiculous. This is what you get when you take a woke, in my view, woke morons and put them in charge of a comic book company. They do everything but make regular comics because they have, I think, a disdain for the working class, for normal people. They don't like them. They want to transform them. They want to turn them into the ideologues that they are. So they'll be normal. But they're not normal. They're warped. They're left-wing, warped people who believe in all sorts of nonsense about fourth wave feminism and critical race theory and tearing down the capitalist system. It's just in everything they do. So naturally, I will continue not to purchase any of this stuff. Not that I'm the audience for it anymore. Although I did, up until a few years ago, I'd buy comics, sure. I would want to see what's going on, if there was anything good in them. But, it's just been a downward spiral for so long. There could be cool things going on in comics. They could be talking about cool things. But instead, being woke is not edgy. It's the exact opposite of edginess. It's conforming to everything that's safe right now. It's conforming to the cancel culture mob so no one could possibly be offended by you. And that's not edgy. That's not cool. That's not what Deadpool's all about. Deadpool should be edgy as hell. Deadpool should be incredibly offensive because he is a character who would like to see offensive humor. A character who would hate Twitter and the people who are on it and be more than happy to offend their sensibilities nonstop until they lost their damn minds. But sadly, he is instead trapped in a world where I guess he makes chimichangas and makes snarky comments that are mildly amusing. So, how the mighty Marvel has fallen. Oh well, there are new comics out there. There is the Webcomic Factory at thewebcomicfactory.com, where you can read all kinds of crazy comics. And I could say the F word, and I can make boobs and butts talk to each other. I do anything I want. I won't be doing, however, recipes.